Yeah, geez. Did it take a lot of work with that bar, or?
Yeah, I won't lie.
You want to try?
I already did. I don't need your fork.
Good.
Good.
Like it? Check this out, guys. My very favorite tomato breed, the Sun Gold. This was one of the very few plants that survived the great frost night of April 2021 that killed almost all of my garden. This Sun Gold tomato was one of the very few, I think there are 3 or 4 plants that actually held on. Like I said, this is my very favorite tomato of all, and I'm gonna give it a taste here. Oh, that's good. You want one, Holly? The only way you can enjoy it is with your eyes closed.
It's true.
Hi there, yo folks. I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and I'm excited to get something pretty big for the homestead today. Problem is, I'm not sure if it'll fit in my car. So I'm gonna measure. It's gonna be tight, but I think it might work. Now normally, when picking up a large item, or an item where the size of it is large enough for me to question its ability to fit in my car, I'd just use my dad's truck, my dad's pickup truck. But he's out and about, and the truck isn't there, and besides, I like a challenge every once in a while. So I'm on my way to the north part of Knoxville, where there's a Rural King, where they have these items in stock. So I'll see you there. Wish me luck. Okay, so if you haven't guessed what I was picking up at Rural King, you're probably aware of what it is now. It's a stock tank. And I'll be using that stock tank as a brooder for our upcoming round of meat chickens. I'm thinking anywhere from 15 to 25 Cornish cross hens that we'll be putting in there as little baby chicken nuggets. We'll probably have them in there for about 2 weeks or so before we put them out into the chicken tractor out on the pasture. It's not the biggest stock tank I could have gotten, but it's plenty big for 2-week-old Cornish cross hens. It'll be more than enough room for them before I put them out on pasture. So right now I'm going to take this thing home, and I'm not looking to get it set up right away, but I am looking to at least get it in place so I know where it is, and that's my plan. So I think this first stall of the barn is where I'm going to have my brooder at. There's electricity nearby. I can plug in a heat lamp for them, and it's lit. There's a light bulb in this particular stall. I need to go turn that on, and it's the closest stall to the house. So I think of all the different stalls in the barn, this is probably the best one to keep future chicks, and the next round of chicks are going to be meat birds. So this is where I'm going to set up the brooder. First, before I do that though, I need to take out some of the current. I've got an old chicken tractor in here that I built a long time ago, and I need to get that thing out, move that somewhere else. Where, I'm not quite sure, but this is where the stock tank future brooder is going to go. Okay, so my brooder is in place and ready to receive chicks. Now, this was actually really easy, probably one of the easiest brooder solutions that you can use. Now, this set me back a little bit of money, but it wasn't that expensive. And a lot of people give these things away for free. You can find them on Craigslist or at the side of the road in rural areas. They're not that hard to come by. So this is going to serve as a perfect brooder for the chicks once we're ready here in a few weeks for them. And obviously I'm going to need to get a new actual heat bulb. Right now there's just a regular light bulb in there. Those are just a couple of bucks. I'll pick up one of those. And for the cover of this thing, I'm going to use some chicken wire. I'm going to fashion some sort of chicken wire top. Maybe that'll hold down with clamps to the side here. I've got plenty of chicken wire, and I've got some clamps floating around somewhere. So really easy brooder solution. If you guys are looking for a brooder or some chicks, pick up one of these things. They come in all sorts of different sizes. If you're gonna get a bunch of chicks, there's some that are 6 or even 8 feet long. If you're not gonna get that many chicks, there's some that are only 4 feet long. So really good solution, really easy to do. As long as you have access to electricity, you can get a heat lamp hanging over this thing, pick up some chicken wire to serve as a cover, obviously get some pine shavings or other carbon litter for the bottom, which I'll get when it's time, and that will serve as their carpet and their litter, and we'll be good to go, and we can get some meat chickens in here very soon. As I was working on the brooder, I couldn't help but hear that ever familiar sound of a mattock being swung, and I looked over here, and indeed, my dad was swinging a mattock because, boy, oh boy, what have you got going on here, Dad?
This is quite the project.
Boy, is it ever.
I was telling you earlier, thank you, Fighter, that if I knew what I was getting into, I might have just hired it out.
This is a trench that I'd say is probably knee deep.
It's deep. And I knew it was going to have to be deep just because of the slope of the ground. But we're having problems with the existing downspout and kind of one of those little flexible drains that they attach.
It was just pulling up and the water was sitting in there.
So really, I did a lot of research, different ways to approach this, and basically it was just a matter of digging a trench and putting in some PVC pipe. I've got a catch basin up front, so as the water comes down the spout, I'll have it set up so the water goes directly into the catch basin, and then it'll come down the length of this to a point where the ground finally starts to slope off. So I'll have a little pop-up emitter that the water will be released and continue on downhill.
Yeah.
So
Man, look at some of these rocks over here.
That was the thing. I knew that it was going to be difficult just digging through normal earth. It became very quickly apparent that this was going to be much more than that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll take some shots of these rocks, these stones.
Now, you didn't just use the mattock. You had to use this mama jama.
Yeah, so I've used the mattock, but this thing...
San Angelo bar?
Yeah, this is 16 pounds. I call it a ground pounder. I don't know what the real technical term is.
Now, you use this to break through some of that rock.
Yeah, whether it's shale or I'm not exactly sure. Not being a geologist, I don't know what kind of rock that is, but just going at it, just beating the snot out of it, and it eventually will break up and come up. So,
and this San Angelo bar does the trick.
Right. Yep. And there's probably a technical name for what this is.
The ground pounder.
So it's going to be a fun dig.
This is the last bit though, right?
It's the last bit. This particular hole, thinking probably 12 to 18 inches deep.
Okay.
I'm going to fill the bottom of it with
gravel.
Yeah, the pea stone. And then actually what I saw on YouTube looked like a pretty good idea. Instead of just having a 90 degree with the pop-up emitter right here, to actually put a T. So water, as it comes down, it will initially drain into the pea stone underneath. And then once that gets saturated, the water comes up and starts coming out the emitter.
Got it.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Also, a quick word about the garden. As you saw in the beginning of today's episode, Holly and I have put an extra layer of mulch down here in the herb/flower garden section. We also edged it off with some logs that we had lying around. Just because, I think I've said it in previous episodes, but because the weeds are so ferocious, we've decided to just let them go in between the beds and opt for what some folks call living lanes. We're just letting the grass grow in between the raised beds. Now, I'm keeping the weeds at bay in the beds themselves, and we're going to sheet mulch them at the end of the harvest, after we harvest. But this area right here, where we have plants directly grown into the ground, herbs, flowers, Holly just planted some bee balm there. We've got a butterfly bush, we've got echinacea, we got our lemon balm, we've got a lot of good herbs that are grown directly into the ground. We can't have wet weeds, we can't have grass growing up, so we needed to do something more here. So as you saw in the beginning, we laid down a lot of cardboard and paper bags, thick paper bags. We made sure to overlap them and then just cover them up with, I don't know, I'd say this is probably a good 4 to 5 inches deep of mulch that we have here, with no qualms about putting more mulch if we need to. We definitely have our hands full of mulch back there, so if we need to add more mulch, we will. So between all the sheet mulch, cardboard, and this thick layer of wood mulch here on top, I think we can keep the grass and weeds at bay for a long time. Speaking of Holly, recently she wanted to show you guys one of her favorite recipes from the garden. One of my favorites too. Of course, I'm not the one making it, I am the one eating it. The bounties just keep coming, and it looks like you're making something right now.
Yeah, you see all these cucumbers I picked?
We're not short on cucumbers, apparently.
And we've got to do something with them. So I have figured out how to make this really yummy thin sliced cucumber salad that I love.
It's so good.
It makes a big batch. So I'm picking basil right now. What I do is I pick a bunch of cucumbers and then I slice them lengthwise, and then I put them in my food processor on the slicer. And I'm just getting really thin slices. That's part of what makes this so yummy. So let's put these in the slicer. So this is just a food processor. I have it on thin slice. Here we go.
It smells so fresh. Cucumbery fresh. How many cucumbers did we pick today?
8, 10, something like that. A lot.
Cucumbers, zucchini, squash. It's coming out of our ears lately. So what next?
Now I'm transferring the sliced cucumbers to a mixing bowl. And look, the whole thing is filled with cucumbers. That's how many cucumbers we have. Just want to put all these in a mixing bowl. Oh my goodness, we're gonna need 2 mixing bowls. Because there's so many, and I'm gonna need to mix them with the basil and the chives, I'm going to put half in this other mixing bowl because there's a lot to move around here.
Very good. Putting basil in there?
Yeah, and I don't have exact measurements for this, just a lot of basil. So I'm picking it all. And then I'm gonna chop it up really fine, and I'm also gonna chop these chives fine. And you can play with the ratios, but it's gonna be cucumber, basil, chives mixed with olive oil, balsamic vinegar, salt, and pepper. And it's really good when it's good right away, but it's really good when it's had about a day to marinate. The flavors kind of meld in there.
So what's next? You're gonna mix it all up?
Toss it up. And then I'll kind of toss them back and forth between the bowls. And I'm not a mixing spoon girl. I'm a get your hands dirty.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, it smells so good. Now, what do you call this recipe?
Holly's cucumber salad.
Holly's cucumber salad delight.
Sure, we can call it delight. It's just something that I made up so that
It's
we
so
can
good.
eat all these cucumbers.
Oh yeah, the vinegar, the oil, the salt, the pepper. Perfect balance between them. You want that?
I already did. I don't need your fork. Good.
Like it? Mm-hmm. Well, that's all we got for today, my friends. Thanks for hanging out with us at the Homestead. And until next time, remember, as always, slowly, slowly.